Welcome to Hey Dr. Sue. So people submit their sex questions to me anonymously, and once a week I post one question and one answer. Do you have a sex question you've always wanted answered? Go ahead and check out the description for information on how to submit it anonymously. This week's question is, I've been reading some pretty spicy novels recently, and I feel like I want to do some of the things that I read about, but I don't know how to tell my boyfriend. Is there any reason I shouldn't talk to him about this? So I'm going to talk about this more from like a general talking about sexual fantasies perspective and not just spicy novel induced ones. Whether to tell a partner of a sexual desire you have has some pros and cons to it. And I got to be honest, I'm not usually a pros and cons kind of person. But I can't give you a definite answer because it really does depend on so many things, like who your partner is, what the fantasy is, and what happens if you tell them and it doesn't work out the way you hope. So I'll give you some pros and cons to think about, and then you can decide what's best for you in your relationship. Because I'm a pessimist, we're going to start with the cons. If you tell your partner something about a sexual fantasy and they don't like it, or they think it's gross, or they judge you for it, that kind of reaction could be something that can be really hard to come back from. Another con can be that your partner feels threatened by your fantasy. If you say you want them to try X, Y, and Z because you've been thinking about it and it turns you on, their reaction may be that they think you're saying that you're not happy with your sex life, or that they're not pleasing you, or that they're not good enough. And depending on your partner and depending on your relationship, that might also be hard to move past. By the way, if that reaction is sounding way too familiar and you think that there would be a threat to your safety if you told them about your fantasy, then I would highly advise against sharing it. As a general rule of thumb, if the fantasy involves someone very specific, especially someone who's close to either you or your partner, I would really advise sharing details. I had a student once who talked in class about not being able to understand why their partner got angry when she said she was having sexual fantasies about one of his fraternity brothers. And not like in a I want to have a threesome with him kind of way, but more in a I was thinking about this guy while I was masturbating kind of way. I think most of us can understand why that might not have been the best thing to share with our partner. If the fantasy is based on something in a book that you're reading, your partner might not feel as threatened. But still, if you think their reaction will be bad or cause the relationship to be unsafe, then I wouldn't tell them, even if it comes from a book. Let me give you a scenario that sounds like a pro, but might actually be a con of telling a partner about a fantasy. You tell them and they're excited, like really excited, like let's try this now excited. And you act out your fantasy and it's not quite what you hoped it would be. And it's not in a good way. Not only did it not live up to your fantasy, but now you're a bit angry that your fantasy is ruined. And how do you tell your partner that? Especially when they were so willing to try it out. So on to the possible pros of telling your partner your sexual fantasy. One is that you can have this incredibly vulnerable moment with your partner, which can be a great way of getting to know each other on a deeper level. And that kind of emotional intimacy can be helpful in maintaining a long-term relationship, if that's your goal. And then there's the obvious reason to tell your sexual partner. You tell them, they're willing to try it, and it's amazing. But there's a lot to think about here. If you've never explored fantasies before with a partner, you might want to start with something small before you start on the big fantasy, like general turn-ons. I would also suggest thinking about why you want to share it. Do you want to actually try it out? Do you just want to talk about it as a way of getting turned on? Do you want your partner to know you on a deeper level? Knowing the answers to these questions will help decide how you want to approach the conversation. Until next time, be safe and have fun. Did you like that video? If so, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll know when new videos come out. Also check out the description to find out how to find me on Instagram, Medium, and Threads. And make sure to check the description for links where you can submit your own sex question.